Napoli fans around the world, welcome to Napoli Talk. In this video, we'll be talking about a guy that's been heavily linked to Napoli. Now, you guys know for a fact that I don't make transfer videos unless things are official, and this is not a video saying that this kid will come to Napoli 100%. This is more of an introductory video in case he does come to Napoli. Now, you might have also noticed that in this whole intro, I have not yet said this kid's name. And that is because it is simply impossible to say. So I will try. I've got it on the screen right now. He is Khvicha Kvaratskhelia. Khvicha Kvaratskhelia. Guys, here's the thing. If you guys don't smash that like button and subscribe right now, I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name. So please go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to help me out. So who is Kvaratskhelia? You might be wondering. Kvaratskhelia, born February 12, 2001, is only 21 years old and just turned 21. So really young kid. You have to consider this guy the equivalent of when we were linked to Elmas. He's someone coming from an Eastern European league, and he's probably got the same amount of potential that someone like Elmas had. Highly rated in his league, in his team. Comes to maybe a team like Napoli, and he'll probably need a bit of time to adapt. Maybe we'll only get the best out of this guy after 2 or 3 seasons. But Luciano Spalletti had obviously coached for 7 years in the Russian league for Zenit St. Petersburg. That means that he knows the level of that league, and he knows what type of player from that league could then go ahead and be successful elsewhere. And actually, he's won Young Player of the Year for that league. So clearly he's got talent, and clearly Luciano Spalletti sees that. And so it's worth taking a deeper look into who he actually is. So as I mentioned, he was born in Georgia, and in 2019 went to Russia, first with Lokomotiv Moscow, and then after his season ended there, he was snatched up by Rubin Kazan and has been playing in Rubin Kazan up until the war started between Ukraine and Russia. At that point in time, all foreign nationals who were playing in Russia or Ukraine were allowed to temporarily terminate their contract until the 30th of June 2022. And at that point, he decided to go back to his, sort of hometown club, and that's where he will be playing for the rest of the season. Then when June 30th hits, he will have to go back to Rubin Kazan unless FIFA decides otherwise. So this is a very delicate situation for Napoli when they have to negotiate his transfer. Do you pay the Georgian team and then they sort it out with the Russian team? Or do you go and you pay the Russian team because he's got a contract there technically until 2024, but are you even allowed to do that? Can you even negotiate with the Russians now? Or can you even send them money? But hypothetically speaking, if Napoli could negotiate a transfer and pay this transfer fee, Napoli are willing to invest between 8 to 10 million and offer him a contract of 1.5 million. Right, but what's the big deal about this guy, and why are Napoli so interested in him? Well, first off, let's get some quotes from some of his ex-coaches, starting off with his coach at Rubin Kazan called Slutsky. I'm serious, his name is Slutsky. Slutsky says, 95% of the players you work with have some kind of limitation: mentality, speed, technical component, anthropometric data, physical. Khvicha doesn't have such a ceiling. And then his previous coach at Moscow, Yuri Semin, says, firstly, he is a very talented young guy. This was immediately noticeable to the naked eye. Secondly, he is purposeful. Thirdly, he fell into the good hands of Slutsky and a good team in which he is constantly progressing. He is Insigne's double, a dribble addict, a technician, a genius. You always expect something from him. The left wing is his position. He shoots with his right foot. the same trademark move as Insigne. He would be the perfect replacement. I advise him to learn Italian immediately and adapt to the environment. Naples is magical, it pampers you and takes you to the top, ideal for imaginative players like him. So that is Semen speaking directly regarding his potential move to Napoli. But, you know, to get a better insight between how well he compares to Lorenzo Insigne, we have the help of Delphilix. So for those of you that maybe don't know, Delphilix is a new up-and-coming data-driven platform that helps decision makers at clubs unearth new talents and make decisions about which talents to go ahead with. There are several clubs using Delphilix now to recruit players, and in this video we have the help of Delphilix to help us compare Insigne and the new Georgian genius. And right off the bat, you can see that maybe they're not so similar to what Yuri Semin was alluding to. In terms of dribbles, he has almost 3 times more than Lorenzo Insigne, attempting 12 per 90 minutes. He's also recovering the ball slightly more according to this data, but that could also be due to the fact that Napoli is the type of team that likes to keep possession, so the opportunities to recover the ball might be slightly lower than what Rubin Kazan has. But an interesting stat is the amount of crosses attempted per 90 minutes, which is higher than Insigne, even though Insigne is regarded as a specialist in crossing to the far post. In terms of expected assists, we're playing around the same level. In terms of touches around the box, him and Insigne are actually quite similar. They're not the type of player that likes to get into the box, and as a result, neither have had too many goals this season. In fact, he likes to shoot from outside the box, which is in that regards very similar to Insigne after he cuts into his right foot from the left wing. But an area that he definitely needs to work on is his finishing and getting into goal scoring situation, and that's clear from the data that Lorenzo Insigne is still better than him in that regards, and that's something that he needs to work on, which is to say that the majority of his dribbles perhaps occur slightly further back in the field between the halfway line and the start of the box, but you know, it's not really the type of dribbling that gets you inside the box and scoring goals. So how does he compare to other left wingers? Well, according to Transfer Market, he is ranked 52nd. Now, you might think that's quite low, and you know, yes, it kind of is, but you have to remember that ahead of him are players that are in their prime and fully established, and even a player like Lorenzo Insigne only ranks 29th this season. Then you also have to realize that out of the top 50 wingers, Napoli isn't linked to guys in the top 10 or 20. You have a player like Jeremy Boga, who's ranked 40th, who was on Napoli's radar, and actually if you take a look at his stats, they're lower than the guy that we're interested in now. But when you actually realize what it is that we're buying, which is a 21-year-old kid, all of a sudden the perception changes. Because if you compare him to other 21-year-olds, not just left wingers, but 21-year-olds in general, and considering he's only turned 21 a month and so a bit ago, he ranks 18th in that list. And in that list, there is no one from the Serie A or Italian that makes that top 20, which means that he would be the best 21-year-old in the Serie A if he were to join right now. So yes, guys, we are not going and buying a complete player, a player that might be ready right off the bat to replace Lorenzo Insigne, but we are getting a guy that in 2 or 3 years could be at the highest level. Again, we have to consider him more of an Elif Elmas type of deal than this guy will 100% be ready as soon as he starts. So now you might be wondering, well, Dom, we're getting a player that, according to Transfer Market, ranks below Insigne, and Insigne didn't even have that good of a season, and you're telling me I have to wait 2 or 3 years for him to put in good performances? Not at all, guys. He has had some brilliant performances, especially when it comes to the Georgian national team when it comes to elite European level football. And I think that's the key here, guys. I mentioned it last weekend in the live. Lorenzo Insigne in European football over the last 10 years has actually not done that much considering the amount of games that he's played. He had a really good free kick against Dortmund. He had a really good goal against Real Madrid. He had a really good performance against Belgium for Italy in the Euros. And then after that, just very average performances. And I said that this could be down to the fact that when you get to elite European level, you have to rely a bit more on your physique. And Insigne against some of the top defenders struggles. And I'm not saying that you have to be big and tall and strong to be a good football player. Just look at Messi, for example. But unless you have that raw talent that Messi has, it is becoming increasingly more difficult because the game is getting more physical and you do need that extra muscle, that extra height. And the player that we're getting, he's 183 centimeters tall, over 6 foot. So he is much more suited to modern European football, and that shows when he plays for the national team. He's got 2 goals against Sweden, 1 goal against Spain, 1 goal against Greece, and scored twice against North Macedonia. My records show that Insigne scored 0 against North Macedonia. So I think even though he might not be 100% ready for the Serie A and the intricacies of the Serie A and might need time to adapt, just like we gave it to Elmas, I think when it comes to European football and Champions League nights, I think this guy could be devastating, especially when we have to play against teams that want to attack us more, and then they give us a lot of space to attack. Insigne, unfortunately, was not the type of player that could utilize speed or physicality in one-on-one situations. Whereas the player that we're getting now is going to be suited for those kind of scenarios. So anyways, guys, I think this could be a really smart buy for Napoli. 10 million is really not a lot for one of the most talented 21-year-olds. Definitely better than any 21-year-old playing in Italy at the moment, and has a proven track record of scoring against big European teams, stepping up at the biggest stage, World Cup qualifiers, and has shown that his style of football suits playing in European football. But anyways, guys, that is everything from me today about Kvaratskhelia. Do let me know if you want to see him at Napoli. Write that down in the comments. And once again, thank you to the guys from Delphi Leaks for providing the data comparing him to Lorenzo Insigne. And guys, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos about Napoli. As always, Forza Napoli sempre.